Well, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this month's webinar hosted by Occupancy Advantage. And this month we have an amazing topic. It is on reporting, data, metrics, the statistics that we live and die by. I'd like to welcome you. For those of you guys who know me, I am Mona Hilton. I've had the honor and the privilege of doing these webinars for the last about almost 8 years now, actually. And today is different. Today is Takeover Thursday. So I am in a great spot. We are going to have a conversation. It's going to be hosted by Jennifer Ramirez, who's our Global Growth Development Director, and Kristen Zay, who some of you know, who's our Vice President. And we're just going to have a conversation. We're going to share some stories with you today. I'm going to take a back seat while these ladies run the show. And of course, for those of you guys who know me, I sometimes have something to say. So with that, I'm really excited. I'm going to turn you over and ask Jennifer to kick us off. So enjoy, guys. It's a great webinar.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. We're glad you could join us. Today, what I'd like you to do is actually rate your reporting. So we're going to have a poll come up, and on a scale of 1 to 5, we want you to rate your current reporting system, 1 being horrible and 5 being absolutely amazing. So we'll give you a couple minutes to go ahead and take that poll.
So to restate that, how do you think your current reporting works now? Is it horrible? Is it amazing? Is it someplace in between? Pick what fits you best.
Okay, so do we have the results?
I think everyone's had a chance to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and close that poll now. Your highest percentage is not bad.
Not bad. Okay.
A 4.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. So today we're going to go over the side effects of having bad data and vice versa. So what are the effects of robust data? Do you know what data you should be tracking and what you don't have? So at the bottom of the screen, it says you don't know what you don't know. What are important metrics that you should be tracking in senior living? We have listened and learned from clients over the years to have developed important metrics. And is your lead management occupancy software, is it helping you or is it hurting you? Is there room for improvement? They say that what you don't know won't hurt you, but what if what you don't know could bring your senior care communities to the next level? So that's my question for you. Now, moving on, I know that with these statistics, this is just a refresher. You know your business. This is not a new concept. We're just going to review this and go over the important statistics. Here we have approximately 1 million Americans live in some type of a senior living community, and it's expected to double when we get to 2030. By the year 2040, we're looking at that number tripling from 5.7 million to 14.1 million. That, my friends, is what we at Occupancy Advantage call the silver tsunami. The baby boomer population began in 1946, which means that the tip of the spear just began turning 70 years old in 2016. And as these baby boomers age, they'll develop more comorbidities and health issues, and their impact on the system and their consumption of medications and healthcare services will skyrocket. So this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. And I'll let you take a couple seconds to take a look at those statistics. So with this exponential growth of seniors,
I think Kristen has the thought she'd like to share.
Go ahead.
I love all the statistics. I mean, we're in this senior living industry, and we know there's seniors out there. We know there's going to be more. It's just the nature of the age where they've just basically started retiring in the last 5 years or so. The other side of the equation is there are so many more players that seem to be jumping on the bandwagon. So other industries have that may be doing something similar have now opened their eyes and said, wow, we should be in senior living. So where things used to be pretty standardized in your area, now you're seeing big companies step in and pop up a location down the street. And so it's changing the dynamic of the industry as far as where it's been and where it's going. So yes, there are more seniors, and you're pointing out statistics, which are excellent. That's what's happening. But I think the competition too is increasing, so that there's more competition to get those seniors in the process. So 20 years ago, they went to the local, and even culture has changed. We used to call it a retirement home. You know, we don't use those terms anymore. Now it's in a facility, it's an assisted living facility, or it's a independent living facility. Even our culture has changed, and placing someone there, that whole process has changed. And we want to do things that have changed that. So keeping up with the technology, the competition, really the whole market is changing in kind of all different ways. So just adding to your statistics, it's pointing out definitely seniors, but what are we going to do to get those seniors, and how do we track that growth, and that information is definitely something for reporting.
Definitely, as they're coming to an age, therein lies an opportunity, but also a challenge. And we know that you're preparing, but as you think about preparing, we want you to consider your metrics to manage your communities. So these are some of the questions that we want you to ponder. How will you find and engage these seniors? What metrics do you need to plan and manage these growing communities? And how accurate is your data? If that data is your crucial lifeblood, can you count on it for the success and failures of your community?
Exactly. Like I mentioned 20 years ago, a lot of the metrics were, okay, how many calls did you make this week? How many calls? How many people walked in the front door? Now they've taken that to a whole different level. How many inquiries to get from your website? Where are you getting those leads? And how many of those leads are converting to move in? And whole industries, those referral companies that exist now, they weren't here 20 years ago. So the whole marketplace has changed. So knowing what those metrics are, we have to keep up with the reporting for those new avenues for those leads, to find out if those leads, are you getting leads from where you think you're getting your leads from? You may be paying a service. I talk to clients every day, and they'll tell me, I get X number of leads per week from XYZ. And I'll go, okay, all right. But what they will be able to find out using Occupancy Advantage that, yes, they may be getting the leads that they think, but how many of them are actually converting? Right. And you may be getting your leads, and it's great to get leads because you've got to fill your funnel. But if they aren't converting, you might need to step back and say, now where are we putting our resources where we need them? Right. To get those, because of course we want to keep the funnel going, but if they aren't quality leads, then we may need to re-examine what we're doing. And some companies choose to do some of their own marketing, whether that's on social media, whether that's using their website to the fullest, to get their own inquiries, generate their own leads. So knowing where they're coming from is crucial.
Technology is certainly changing the game.
Right, and to your point and what Kristen was saying, the internet is a new player. And it's one thing to say, I got this many leads from the internet, but where on the internet? Were they from your website? Were they from email? Were they from pay-per-clicks? Were they from referral sources? Where are those leads? Because like Kristen said, that's how you know where to spend next round of marketing dollars.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, we've been doing sales and marketing since 2000 and senior living since 2010. And throughout the years, here are some of the complaints and issues that we've heard. And we've been obsessed with resolving these complaints. Here they are. Data is not accurate. It's outdated and not in real time. The numbers may be fudged, or perhaps there are companies that are delivering false promises, or maybe it's too complicated, or click, 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 click. It's too time consuming. You have to go from page to page to page, and you have to jump through too many hoops in order to obtain a specific report. So here at Occupancy Advantage, we listened. We're excited to share some insightful and helpful ways to track these critical metrics that are so important to you in your industry with senior care communities. First, before we move on to take a look at those metrics, we want to take a look at the two different types of scenarios. And also, which metrics are important to you? Perhaps we'll be touching upon some. If there are some that are important to you, please feel free to post a comment or a question in the box, and we'll visit those at the end of the webinar and answer any questions that may come up. But taking a look at scenario number one, perhaps you fall into this category where your census is just not where it needs to be. It's not at or above 90%. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, you're busting at the seams and you just have a plethora of seniors that are on a wait list. You're not struggling, but you're looking for ways to manage this wait list. So there are so many pros and cons for each of these scenarios, and we're going to break it down. We're going to go over some questions for scenario number one, where it's difficult keeping your census at or above 90%. So how many leads are you getting? Are they effective? Are they slipping through the cracks? How many of those leads have turned into residents, just as Kristen had brought up just previously? Do you know where your move-ins are coming from? What's happening to those leads? So is your team following up with those leads? Just like I brought up before, are they slipping through the cracks? Do you have a follow-up system in place? Are we working our referral sources? So this is something which some of our clients do. They take their they have a report, a top referral report. They run that, and they take their top 10 referrals, and to the season, it's Christmas time, they send out Christmas gifts to their top 10 referrals. So another question, what is my cost per lead? And how about marketing ROI? Do you know what your ROI is? Kristen, what's your perspective on all of these? I know I've thrown a lot of questions at you. This is like a boatload of questions.
Well, let me first tell you that about scenario number one. So I see this as a community who needs to get their census numbers up. And I talked to many communities that have this situation. And they say, well, we just need to get more leads. We need to get more leads. We need to, get more people to inquire about us. We're here. They know about us. We just need more. And I have seen where it's not just about getting leads. So I've talked to communities where they have had some marketing staff members who will perhaps weed out some, when you're recording manually, their leads and say, well, it's no waste of time for me to count these 10 because they aren't really going to pan out. Well, those need to be part of your mix. They need to be in there because you need to know that not 100% of those people who inquire are going to be engaged going forward.
Right.
So you do want to see that you are showing that some leads are just not interested. You also want to be able to run a report that shows you which one of those leads haven't had any follow-up. The follow-up is the big deal. Follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. I'm sure Mona has always shares with the one quote about following up within 5 minutes. I've talked to some people in the industry that have kind of sat back and said, well, they've had so many inquiries from this place and that place, I'm just going to wait and inquire 2 weeks from now. Well,
too late.
It's too late. The boat has moved on.
The boat.
And so it's those people that sincerely follow up, continue to follow up, understand that if they're following up with a family member, that family member is going through a lot of stuff, a lot of emotions,
right.
having to move this loved one out of their home to a new setting. A lot of decisions have to be made, tons of decisions, paring stuff down and moving and the logistics and the emotions that go with that. So they're dealing with a lot. And if they've asked you to follow up, you are not bugging them. You are giving them what they asked for.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so follow up, follow up, follow up. You may feel like you're not getting a response, but maybe you're sending an email and then you're following up with a call, you're sending an email. You can go into Occupancy Advantage and look and see, are they opening your emails? Because if they're opening them, they're getting some kind of content. They want to open your email, so you're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, am I reaching them? Am I hitting them with the message that makes sense for them? Is this a way I can help them? And so
Mm-hmm.
some of those metrics on who is reading those emails, all that's reportable, who doesn't have any follow-up. We log something for gestation of when that lead came in and what that next action is, and if there hasn't been any follow-up, and how long is that span. And even things like we have what we refer to as a buyer report, and I know you probably have that coming up here in a moment, but that buyer report is pretty awesome because it shows you when that lead came in
Mm-hmm.
and how long it was to the time that they moved in.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like, okay, great, that's the gestation period, we want to know that. But that also in the process tells us about seeing those leads entered into your system, because you can't follow up with people that aren't into the system and recorded, and your metrics aren't going to work if you aren't recording them so you can see them. So I can see when a team member is entering
Mm-hmm.
those move-ins. And if I see move-ins, this created the same day that contact record was put in as an inquiry, then I know there's something wrong with that.
Right.
That
Red
means
flag.
they're just taking orders.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just taking orders, you're just like everybody down the street. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to be doing things to engage them earlier in the process,
Mm-hmm.
following up with them. But I can tell you who is an order taker in your system.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Yeah. No, Kristen, yesterday you gave me an example from yesterday, and I would love for you to share, and it was an answer to how much time is spent creating and updating our reports.
So how much time is creating and updating our reports? So all of our reports are real time. And you just have to go in and run it. You can use our standard reports. You can create your own custom reports and name them. You can also schedule our reports. So if you want to see in your inbox every morning contacts that haven't had follow-up, or new leads that need to be followed up on, or new inquiries, or you name it, it can be in your inbox. So if you want to start your day looking at who needs to be contacted today, you can set that and have it just show up in your inbox. And they don't even have to be users of the system.
Yeah, okay. Set it and forget it.
Real time.
Not that you're forgetting
Real
what you
time.
have to do, but yeah.
Exactly. Now,
Yeah.
I've talked to communities that have gone from a very complicated, perhaps Excel spreadsheet, dare I say, and they have collected the data at the community level, so individual communities, and then those people have submitted it to the regional, and then the regional has combined those reports and created a regional report, and then the regional send in something to their corporate, and then corporate combines all of this, and then that information is distributed to the people who need to see it.
Outdated.
how many hours, how many man hours did that take?
Yeah.
What is the leg? Because everybody had to have their own preparation time.
Mm-hmm.
And why not just go run a report?
Yeah.
The same thing in real time.
That's kind of why I put that example up there on the screen, preparing reports for a board meeting, $400 for a report at $10 an hour, with the amount of time that goes into.
That's actually a true story.
Yeah.
That was a client who told us that they had a monthly board meeting, and she spent a month, putting together a report for the board meeting. I'm like, wow, what is your time worth? And what are you not getting to because you're spending an entire week doing a board meeting versus pushing a button?
Right. Okay. So we're going to move on. We're going to move on to the wait list situation because I'm excited for Kristen to get into actually showing you these reports. But let's take a look at the opposite end of the spectrum where you have a wait list. Do you have the tools to support and manage that wait list? And can you use the data on that wait list for future planning and growth? And also, should management consider building? Because remember the statistics, with the rising number of seniors, there are going to be a need for more senior care communities. Also, what do these people on the wait list want? Studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, garden tub, corner unit with a view? How about a golf course view? And also, what are my move-ins year to date? How many people are on my wait list? How many deposits do I have on hand? How many wait list deposits are there? And what is the time frame of these statistics? Kristen, here I go again. I'm throwing a lot of questions at you.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I'll tell you, scenario number 2 is a nice place to be. If you have more people that want to move into your community or communities than you have rooms or beds for, it's an awesome place to be. But I've talked to many people who've been in that situation, and it's like they woke up the next day and it wasn't that way. Something transpired, something happened that changed that. They would say it seemed like overnight our occupancy changed. Well, probably if you look at the details, it wasn't overnight, but you need to look at those residents that you do have and continue to fill that funnel for many reasons. We all know there are reasons for move-outs. Some of them are family-related, some are needs, some are the residents no longer with us, and so you need to look at the age of your resident population and take some of that into account. So all of a sudden, some people have said, oh, overnight my occupancy changed. Well, probably wasn't overnight. If you were watching the reporting, you would have seen it wasn't overnight. But you want to always have the tools to fill that funnel. And having that wait list is a great thing, but I'll tell you, that can keep you busy too with the calls on where am I on the wait list? Am I next? How close are we? My family needs to make decisions. Or, how many rooms are we down? When do you anticipate us moving in? Though that will keep you busy too, just following up with those.
Yep.
So we have the ability to create all different types of wait lists. You don't have to have just one wait list. You can have a wait list by room type, as you mentioned, Jenny, or you can have a wait list by their service, that whether they're AL, IL, whatever that service line is that you're representing or have available. It could be by that, could be by the floor, could be by any of the amenities that you have if they're broken up. So we can handle those different types of wait lists. They can be on more than one wait list. Of course, you want all those statistics. How many people are on your wait list? Who's next? And then, of course, the deposits that go with that. Most of the reporting that I see, they need to report, okay, how many deposits do we have on hand?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the ability to make all different types of deposits. So those are all things that you want to have, but you need to keep filling that funnel, doing your follow-up, because things can change. I've talked to communities where, oh, they had this big, long wait list and everything was going well, and then all of a sudden community XYZ just moved in down the street and they're building it, and now we're seeing people want their deposit back because they're moving over there. So it's dynamic, and with the internet, people get and know what's out there. And so you want to always keep doing that marketing and generate those leads.
Yeah, that leads me to the next question of how many deposits have been refunded. You brought that up with competition, refunds. Also, how many of my waitlist seniors have moved in, and then what sources are generating my depositors and move-in residents. Mona, I know that you have something to say about that.
How did you know? Could you tell my? Actually, it kind of points back to something Kristen had kind of alluded to earlier, which is, you know, you could say you're getting a lot of leads from a particular source. Maybe that's a newspaper ad or something. There's a lot of people who are inquiring, but if you have a large number inquiring from a particular source, but a very small percentage of them are depositing, and an even smaller percentage of them are moving in, then you might have a quality issue with those leads. Just because a lot of people raise their hand, it doesn't mean that they're good leads if very few of them move in or deposit. The flip side of that is if you have a source, maybe it's a page on your website, that fewer people are raising their hands, but a larger percentage of them are depositing and moving in, then those are clearly higher quality leads, and you want to put more emphasis on generating those leads because more of them move in, and it comes down to your marketing ROI. So leads are not leads all the time.
Right. Well, let's get into the reporting, into the reports. Reports should be customizable. You should be able to save them, run them anytime, have them available for your board of directors, C-level management, and also investors, right? You should be able to schedule them anytime, to have them automatically set to send out on a specific day. So I'm going to give you an example. Because I have my Monday morning sales manager meetings, and what I do is I set my report, the performance reports that I want to be run, and I have them sent to me on Sunday night, at a specific time on Sunday night, and at home, in the comfort of my own home, I review it, and I'm fully prepared, and I know what I'm going to talk about and cover the analytics in my Monday morning sales meeting. So I set it and I forget it.
You know, another good example of that is maybe there's a particular business report that your CEO relies on.
Yeah.
Rather than having to call and ask for it or log in and get it, what if you could just have that report
automatically
scheduled and sent to him or her at a certain day and time, or day, whatever the frequency is that you want.
And moving on, let's talk about easy reporting. Now, this is something that Mona has quoted. No spreadsheets were hurt in the making of these reports.
I'm only half joking. Well, no, I'm not joking. It's true. Okay, so when we talk about easy reporting, you know, that sounds really great if they're easy, but what do we mean by that? One of the things is that you don't have to jump through hoops. You don't have to get an act of Congress. You don't have to ask a bunch of people to give me your information. You can just go through a report, and you're about to see some. Kristen's going to show you some live reports. And pick and click. Basically, pick the criteria you want, the date range typically, the communities that you're looking for, whatever the selections are, and click a button, and you get your report. Also, we have a ton of reports, and we're always generating some new reports. And I think if we get really lucky, Kristen has a fresh, hot off the press report she's going to tell us about, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes, she does. But the deal is there can be too many reports. Sometimes there's information overload. So what if you could favorite your favorite reports and get access to them quickly? So you don't have to go through a whole list of reports that you may or may not use on a regular basis. Also, we talk about interactive, or what we call clickable reports. So our reports aren't just pretty numbers. You can literally click into a number. So say it said you got 10 leads from your website last week. You can literally click on that 10. It'll take you to the 10 people who click through. And from there, with I think it's like 2 or 3 clicks, you can send out an email blast about whatever, a special or an open house you're doing on Friday to invite them in just a couple of clicks. So when you see our reports and you see our dashboards, our graphics, they're all clickable. Very cool. I think that's probably a client favorite. Would you agree, Kristen?
Yes, and let's not forget that each of those reports can be exported to Excel.
Oh, yeah.
So all of them are immediately exportable to Excel. So if you need to start there and do something special, you can.
They are.
And also our reports are live in real time. So the scenario that Kristen was describing earlier where it went through a whole bunch of layers for people to put their input, these are live. This is a real deal, baby. You press a button, you get live data as of that moment. And I love this quote from Steve Jobs that people don't know what they want until you show it to them. I mean, we're going to show you some things and some statistics and some information that you probably never would have thought to ask for, but once our clients start using them, yeah, I dare you to take them away.
Go ahead and show them that example of the live reports. See, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay,
Here are a few
favorites.
Okay, so this is a dashboard. I'm going to kind of let Kristen take over and show you some of these reports. And they're all queued up in that order, just so you know.
Okay. So just to let you know, we've got a whole reports tab. So you can click on your reports and see them here. Your favorite ones are on the left-hand side, so you've taken the opportunity to star them, say that's one of my favorites, it shows up on a short list. So just basically what you want to see. So the first report I want to share with you is going to be the AE follow-up statistics report.
AE is account executive.
Yes, that stands for account executive. And so that report, here it is. I want to show you that. So in this report, you're picking the timeline, but you can look at the statistics for how somebody is following up with their corresponding problem. In this case, I have 4 leads, and I have not scheduled any follow-up. So I need to get busy, but as a management level, you want to know, hey, Kristen's got these 30-some leads, and she's not following up with them. So future appointments, scheduled tasks, future, so we know that follow-up is happening. It's not happening on this report here. No. So you can look at that by all your different team members, see who's doing what. So.
And those numbers are clickable, remember?
Yes, these are all clickable. So if I want to see the 9 leads or the 93 prospective residents that don't have any follow-up, all you have to do is click on it. So that's the first report that I want to show you and how easy that is. The next report I've run, and it is, let me hop right here. I went ahead and created a custom report called Kristen's Hot Prospects. I ran that. This is what it returns. It says, okay, Kristen, I chose which columns I wanted to see in this report. So I could click on the 27 contacts, and I could actually, they're over on the right-hand side, do any of those records. I can view their contacts, Bruce Hubbard's record if I wanted to. Or let's say I want to email all my 27 hot prospects. So these are people I've determined are hot through ranking, and I can email them. I click on this, I get the 27 people, which you can see 27, and so now they're going to be all queued up into my email. I go grab what it is I want to send them. So maybe I have 8 for tea and cookies, and I want to send them all there. There are all my 27 people I'm going to send this invite to. So in a couple of clicks, I can take any report and mark it to them with a targeted message. You saw those were my hot leads. I want them in here. So invite them to something. So at a couple of clicks, I took my hot leads, I invited them. Okay.
That's a great report.
Activity tracking. So I can see what Pat, in this case, is doing. How many appointments has she had in this date range? This is a 1-day date range, but how many appointments did she have? How many events? How many marketing responses did she do? So you can choose a date range. That range is up to you, but you get to decide what you want to see. Pat, you hear, oh, you've got a marketing executive and they're busy, 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 but what are they doing? So this is
gives the breakdown of what exactly they're doing.
Right. This is where they say the rubber meets the road. What actually have you been doing? And if I want to know who that appointment was with, all I have to do is click on it. It'll take me to the contact that she had an appointment with.
Sure. Okay.
The next report, inquiries by source code. So you can look at and take your sources, or you could hand select individual ones. I've kind of grabbed everything here. Where are my leads coming from? So in a date range, so maybe last month, last year, in the last quarter, where are my leads coming from? How many leads I have? How many toured? How many deposited? And how many moved in? So when you're deciding if you're going to have that 4th of July barbecue, or whether you're going to have a Spring Fling 2017 event, let's look at the numbers and see what happened when you did this last time. You know, is that where we need to spend our time? Did we get move-ins from that? Was it an effective campaign? Again, when the numbers come in, they are going to be clickable. I sure presented 0 if there weren't any, but you want to click on it, and it'll tell you exactly who moved in from those sources.
Okay.
Then you can look at it this from a different perspective. So you can look at it and say, okay, in this date range, how many leads did you have, and so forth. So just depending, this is a year back, so how many leads came in from these different things? Again, clickable just by clicking on it. We've got some leads by ranking reports, so you get to see all the different leads, how many of them were, and the follow-up that's being done based on those leads.
Okay.
You've got more reporting based on the sources. Now this one is taking into account the leads, but how many touches? So how many times was there follow-up? How many of those tasks were completed? How many tasks were assigned? How many had no activity? If you've got leads coming in with no activity on follow-up, that you know that's a red flag. You want to follow up on those leads. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Sometimes timing is everything. Follow up on those leads. They can't possibly turn into move-ins if you don't follow up and engage them. So.
And what's great about Occupancy Advantage is that you can easily assign the tasks as well. You can complete the tasks within the system, and it's like your one-stop shop.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, right.
The next one is your 30-day occupancy averages by community. So you can see what your average occupancy is. This one's geared up to have, I think we've got 6 communities listed here. So what is the average occupancy for the last 30 days? We also have for the last year. So in one click, you can see what is your average occupancy. A lot of times I've had clients who wanted this kind of thing, and they're crunching numbers and crunching numbers and crunching numbers to get to what is their yearly average occupancy. And here now you just run it in a click.
To the click and
go.
We're able to get that. Yep.
Now, Jenny, a lot of what you said early on was the conversion. So in this report, the activity conversion, we can see by month. So we're laying out the time frame that you've selected. So in the last year, so it's picking up starting in December through this December, midway through the month, and we can see how many inquiries, how many visits, and so forth. What are those conversions? What do we need to change? Well, let's see, we get a lot of leads in this month, and we want to see how those are converting. So we can see a lot of different information. Now, this is on the community level. The community is Green Acres. The executive or the marketing staff individually, see what their conversion rate is. So you can look at it from both methods and see how that conversion looks. Again, everything blue is clickable, so if you want to see who those visits were, what have you, it's in there. And we say, if it hasn't been entered, it didn't happen, because you want all of those visits. You want to be able to look at these conversion rates. So you want everything to be put in the system, but it's very easy to use and easy to record those events. I mentioned earlier their buyer profile. So this happens to be a Green Acres community. These are those people that have moved in. So whether it was a respite stay, it would tell you that if it was a respite stay. Where did these individuals come from? So you've got to record that, obviously, and you'll get that. But what is the gestation? It's funny, I was just talking to someone in the last few months, and I was inquiring about their gestation, and she was very happy when I talked to her. She says, "Oh, Kristen, I'm so excited. I just got one of my prospects to move in," and I was excited for her, but then she told me it was 10 years in the making. She had been following up with this prospect for 10 years. And she was so excited that he had just put a deposit down and she was going to be moving in. So everybody's got their own time frame, but to be able to see what that gestation is by individual at the time of move-in. So if you're seeing zeros, those are order takers. Somebody that the phone rang, they said, "Yeah, we got a room," and they're taking the order. There wasn't a lead time of follow-up. There wasn't, you know, having them come visit or any engagement ahead of time. That's just simply showing up. If I see a -3, that means the person actually moved in before they were ever entered in the system. And so those are things that, to me, point out how you might do things a little bit better moving forward.
Sure.
You want to see some numbers representing some follow-up. All right, this is just another way to look at your conversions. Again, this is taking a look at Kristen's activities compared to Green Acres as a whole. So there's possibly somebody else that took some inquiries. So, but you can see what my individual conversion activity was for Green Acres versus maybe somebody else's.
Okay.
And again, they're all clickable. Here's a favorite. It's general occupancy, because this will give you what many communities want to see at a glance. It all fits on one page. So this is 2 communities represented. How many units of capacity is at each one of those locations? How many units are occupied? So doorknobs. What was the change from the prior week? What is census? So what is your head count? Because they've got 65 heads, 40 beds. What is the census going to be in the future? Because we can handle future move-ins and future move-outs. And then you can see how many opportunities are currently in your pipeline. Then you can also see respite stays, deposits, move-ins into the future, move-outs and move-outs that are coming, how many new inquiries, of course the old standard, how many call-outs were made, and how many tours. Of course, all of this is clickable. We have some activity based on the different communities too. So this is excellent if you've got multiple communities and you want to see, okay, let's kind of line this up and look at how many activities were done, how many visits, call-ins, total activities, and so forth. So you're kind of looking at this from the standpoint of those actions that are happening at the community level, and then what that gestation is based on those communities, and then their overall stay. So I can see that the stay at Spring Valley is an extended time versus Genesis Estates pretty short. So that can come into play when you're looking at filling your funnel and those statistics, is knowing how long those people, those residents typically are there, so you can plan ahead. And then again, showing your open opportunities, so you know how many are in the pipeline, and many times you can get a feel for, okay, here's what our conversion rate is. By running your numbers, I know I'm going to have so many in the pipeline, or we need to get busy. The next one is another way to look at the activity in a kind of a different format. You'll find the ones that you like, again, clickable, but allows you to see some conversions, call-out rates, and so forth. Open opportunities. Now, these are open opportunities that are on here. Again, they're clickable. But if they have a next action, which you want to see is the next action queued up. Let me see if we've got some here. So you can see someone that's tied to them. So we are big on relationships, so we can tie all the family members together. In this case, there's somebody that could move in, and here's the list of family members. look at the son, and then the son is married, and so there's a daughter-in-law involved, and then maybe there's 3 grandchildren that are in the mix and a niece, and sometimes you can feel like you've got the whole family coming in and they're touring all this. We can connect all those parties together. The system will still know there's only one move-in, even though you may be engaging with more than one person in that process.
Okay.
All of our reports, as I keep saying, they're all real time. That includes your room roster. So I can see in real time who is in a specific room. I can see who's on Medicaid, who's private pay, and so forth. I can see any vacant rooms. I can also see future move-ins will show up on here as well. So you can see when you're going to have a future move-in or a future move-out, how much more value there's going to be a move-out. Sometimes only the patient care side knows when there's a move-out, and they keep that information, but if you can know when you've got somebody moving out, you could fill that room, you can turn it faster.
Right.
So if you know that you've got that, I've got a couple of clients that send out an email with as an update of what they have available. So they call it their availability email, and they send out, they've got a studio coming available, and they send it out, and makes filling it a lot easier.
You can also see a room roster in the past.
Yes, that's exactly a good point. You can run this a room roster as of, maybe you want to know what your occupancy was as of 12/31/2016 for whatever reason. You can run it in the past, so you can see what it was on that date and time. You've got a room history, so you can pick any room and see when someone was in that room in a date range. So over this little over a year, apartment 12 in the West Wing had some people move in and out of it. So you can see who, you know, but talk to a lot of people and say, gosh, do you remember you used to be in room 203? Well, now you can just run a report on room 203 and see everybody that was in it. Wait list and deposit statistics. So we do want to know how many contacts are on the wait list. And again, these are configured at the time of setup what your wait lists are called. And so you can see, if you want to see the total 9 people that are on your wait list, in this case we've got 3 separate wait lists, we want to see all 9, we click on it. We want to see who are new depositors in this date range, how many new deposits there are, how many applied deposits, so how many of those deposits that you did have on hand applied toward a move-in, how many deposits remain on hand, what is the dollar amount, how many were refunded. Again, everything's clickable, so if you want to see the 5 new depositors, all you have to do is click on it. Yearly, I mentioned this earlier, instantly run. This is calculating your yearly occupancy averages by each community. Outreach conversion. So some of our clients put an emphasis on outreach, and those people tend to be out and about, going to visit doctor's office, discharge planners, senior facilities, and making those connections, but they seem to be out of the office, and there's always this, what were they doing when they were out of the office? You know, aura of what's really going on. We can track that. We can take it down to what type of referral source that they're following up, who they're following up with, how many calls are made, how many visits, and how many referrals did those individuals provide. So you can do this down to the individual level. You're going to be calling on someone when you go, so we can do that. So again, everything's clickable. We can see who's on some follow-up. So these are your follow-up tools that are in the system. That's probably a whole different discussion. But I can see pretty quickly that Amy is on an active follow-up goal. So I know there's a less chance of her falling between the cracks because the system is going to continually prompt and the outreach.
Guide you with the next steps, right?
Yep. Exactly. Especially if outreach is a focus for you. This is a must-have. All right, then this report is starting to look at the referrals that were provided. So Jeff provided 1 referral. His name was George. Dr. Franklin Skywalker provided 2. That was Barbara and Joyce. So you can actually not only see who your referral sources are, you can see who
they refer.
Exactly. So, you know, are you sending Dr. Franklin Skywalker a turkey for Thanksgiving? You know, how many referrals did he give you? Because you want to maybe pick your top 10 or top 20 referrals to do some special marketing to, or say thank you for those referrals, so you know who is actively giving those referrals. Then we have a way to look at the breakdown of your referrals. This is showing a clinical, non-clinical, friends, and residents breakdown. These breakdowns are truly up to the community and the organization. You can have that broken down in whatever format works for you, what you want to see. But how nice would it be to know how many residents gave you referrals and who they were? Because those are probably going to be your, you know, some people refer to them as their ambassadors. You know who they're going to be. If they're referring people on their own, then they're probably going to be very helpful to help spread the word to other people.
Right.
And last but not least, I think one of the reports here I want to show you is the top referral sources by community. So you can see, and you mentioned this earlier, who are those sources that are giving you referrals? You may be doing a lot of outreach, but if you aren't seeing the referrals or the benefits of doing that outreach, then you may reconsider what's going on with that. And then, of course, I did promise you a new report. In that new report, and I'm saying new because it is hot off the press, we're always adding things. We listen to the users, and they tell us, hey, I think I'd really like to see it this way, because if we're tracking it, we can report on it. And obviously, you've probably seen some things that you may never have seen before reportable instantly, and that's because everything is instant. Everything, if we're tracking it, we should be able to report on it. So there's been a new report that was added, and I'm just coming in to see if I can take a look and find it for you pretty quickly. It's called a weekly sales and marketing review. And what's great about this report, what's great about that is this is a really good tool for your staff to be able to, especially kind of management, so we say, to look at things from, and I say from, you know, a 1,000-foot view. Maybe you don't want to get into the actual details of who it is and that inquired, but you want to look at the statistics. And so it's a one-page snapshot that will show you that information.
That was kind of a college crash course in reporting, wasn't it? I mean, honestly, she's probably shown you not even 20% of the reports that are available in Occupancy Advantage. And you remember how we said that sometimes you don't know what you want until you see it? It's one of those things where there is so much information in here that you might have never even thought about asking for before. But now that you've seen it, how would you be able to live without it? So it's just interesting to see the kind of information, the kind of data that you can have if there's a way to track it. And think about the good decisions that you could make based on the data that she just kind of gave you some insight into. So this is and think about this too, just the reports that Kristen gave you, it took, what, a couple of seconds maybe, tops, for her to run those reports. Imagine if you had to track all that stuff manually on a spreadsheet. I mean, some of it, honestly, would be impossible to track, but the rest of it, even if you could track it, it would take hours and hours of time. So it's just so helpful to be able to click a button and get the reports that you want and get the information that you need to make good decisions as far as marketing, as far as planning, as far as all kinds of things.
So yeah, we track the information, we have it, and this is another simple basic, simple report, but in a couple clicks, I can see how many prospects I have for a certain service line. And so very helpful, seeing what's in your funnel, where you need to spend some effort here to be able to market to. So we're always come up with new reports, see the information that's out there, and let's not forget one more thing, just because I think it's pretty cool. You're going to be able to click on and get to your occupancy dashboard. That occupancy dashboard here we go. It's going to show you in real time. This is on everybody's system. This is Genesis Estates real-time statistics. So you can see your room stats, how many are occupied, how many are vacant. If I click on this vacant, it's going to give me a vacancy report. So I can run down the hall and I can show them, hey, these are the 7 units we have available.
Okay.
And so what I want to point out is not only is there things that are reporting on the reports tab, but if I click this 7, I'm getting a report. Room 202, it's got a shower. It's been vacant for 440 days. I need to get busy with this one. But I can see this information. I can take this, walk down the hall. Oh, you want to have a shower? Let's take you to the ones that have a shower. So even a newbie just coming in will be able to be an expert on what's in your community with this type of information at their fingertips.
Okay. Okay, so to recap, you know the effects of bad reporting. So how can you make a good decision on bad data? And also you know the advantages of having good reports. So we want you to be able to have a peace of mind, save you time, save you money. Let's take a look. Are there any questions or comments that we have before we wrap it up? No? Well, what I'd like to do is, if you'd like, you can stick around for some testimonials that we have from some clients. But I just want to thank you for joining us today. If you have a couple minutes, hang around and take a look at those testimonials, and then I will be in touch and to see if you have any questions or if there's anything that we can help you with in the near future. Thank you so much.
I'm Kathy Foster, Marketing Director at Deerfield in Asheville, North Carolina. We chose as a team Occupancy Advantage because we saw it as a marketing reporting, and so.
Diane again. The experience has been wonderful. Christy given to us. We did some games, you spin the wheel and you get so many points, you get candy. That was nice too. That was an additional bonus.
Patient and why we actually have access to it a lot. And I think it's just going to be easier, a lot easier to use.